many people are interpreting that first tweet from the president to mean he didn't actually know how FISA works, and for that matter, that he wasn't familiar with his own administration's policy.
Does
he know FISA? Was he familiar with the policy?
He does, which is why he issued a presidential memo last week expressing concerns and asking for a review of it, which is also why D&I put out a new policy this morning. This is top of mind for the president, top of mind for the administration, and he has a full understanding. Don't believe me? Ask Speaker Ryan. Look to the comments that he made. He's somebody who's been in constant contact and had many discussions with the president on this issue, and he stated that in his press conference earlier today.
And how exactly was the Trump campaign so badly surveilled and abused under FISA as he seemed to claim in that tweet?
Look, I think that there are a lot of things that indicate the surveillance that took place there, and I'm not sure what the part of confusion is on that front. You guys have reported on it many, many times. Matthew?
Thanks, Sarah. Sticking on the FISA topic.
Well, at least we're consistent.
Yeah, if you didn't see confusion and contradiction between that first tweet and the White House past stated policy, then why 2 hours later issue that second tweet that seemed to clarify the position?
We weren't confused, but some of you guys were. We wanted to make sure you knew the White House position.
People on the Hill or people in these offices?
I had several questions from people in the room. As I'm sure all of you know, because most of you were the ones sending them, the President's been clear about what his position is. We've issued several statements on this, put out one last night that had to do with this. Look, I can't be more clear. I'm speaking on behalf of the President, on behalf of the administration, on what our position is, and I think I've laid that out several times here today. Hallie?
Thanks, Sarah. I want to ask actually about offshore drilling, but before I do, I'm hoping you can clarify something that you said a couple of times now, which was that a lot of people were confused by that tweet. So Mike Pompeo,
actually, I didn't say a lot of people. You guys said a lot of people were confused.
What was we weren't confused, but some of you were.
Some of you said.
Yeah. So I want to ask about that because Mike Pompeo was obviously out talking about this, pushing for this. Tal Barsh, a lot of people in the president's administration were representing the president's position on this, that he wanted this to pass. His tweet today was confusing. It was contradictory. It just was. So how are people supposed to trust, not us as reporters, but lawmakers, stakeholders, policymakers, that the people representing the president's position actually are?
I think that the premise of your question is completely ridiculous and shows the lack of knowledge that you have on this process. I've tried several times. I'll do it a 10th time here. Look, the president supports the 702, but he has some very strong concerns about the FISA program more generally. Again, this is why he put out a memo last week outlining such, and why the D&I director put out a new policy this morning. I'm not sure what the confusion is there.
I cleared, Sarah, before I asked about offshore drilling, that you definitively are saying that the president's tweet this morning was, in your view, not at all confusing and not at all contradictory. You think that's an accurate statement? I just want to be very clear about this.
Yeah, it wasn't confusing to me. I'm sorry if it was for you. Jake?
Let me ask you about the offshore drilling ban, Sarah,
sure,
because there's been a lot of questions about what's happening in Florida. There have been other states that have pointed to the reason this administration is given for exempting Florida, saying that they also are not, they also would like to be exempt. So how is exempting Florida from the ban anything other, in critics' view, than giving a political favor to White House allies in a key battleground state?
Look, the president is a massive advocate for America not just being energy independent, but being energy dominant. That's just part of that process is the offshore drilling. That's why it's opened up for public comment. These are going to continue to be negotiations. We're going to continue to look for places and ways that we can make America more energy dominant. If that's one of them, then we're going to continue forward in that process. That's why we've opened up drilling in ANWR, the Keystone Pipeline, and cut a lot of job-killing regulations that have to do with that. We're going to continue moving forward in that process. It's an open comment period, and we'll continue to talk with other stakeholders as we make decisions for other areas and other states.
Was it not a political favor?
Thank you, Sarah.
I am not aware of any political favor that would have been part of, so no. Jim?
If you're a dreamer out there, should you have confidence that this president is going to reach an agreement that will protect you from being deported?
You should. I think you saw that. You guys got to come into the room in a pretty unprecedented way and sat in there for almost an hour listening to the president talk about it, listening to the president commit to getting a solution on this. Right now we're counting on Republicans and Democrats to come together, which we think they will, to make a deal on DACA and on border security, which is a vital part of that conversation and something that we insist be part of it.
And a quick follow-up on FISA. There seems to be a pattern, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there is no pattern, where the president watches something on Fox and Friends and then he tweets about it. Apparently this morning, one of their personalities, Andrew Napolitano, said that this is not a good deal, Mr. President, don't do this. And then he went on Twitter and tweeted about the FISA program. There have been folks out there who have said, you know, there's a cause and effect. He watches something on Fox and Friends and then he tweets about it. Is that what happened this morning, and does that go on?
I'm sure you're disappointed he's not watching CNN.
I think he watched a lot of CNN, if you don't mind me saying.
I don't think that's true. Your numbers would be higher.
They're actually better than they've been in a
in
long
reference
time.
to the question specifically, no, let's not. In response to the question, as I just said, the president has a great deal of understanding. This is top of mind. He was talking about it last week. He issued a presidential memo on it. So it's not something that just happened this morning. This has been an ongoing discussion and something of great importance. The president doesn't believe that Americans' rights or liberties should be abused, but he certainly believes that Americans should be protected. And he wants to make sure we do both of those things, and that's why he supports the 702, but has concern with FISA more generally. Trey?
Thanks, Sarah. Two questions for you. First, a few days ago you said the White House did not have any reaction to the transcript that was released by Senator Feinstein related to Fusion GPS. Is the president aware of this transcript? And does he have any reaction to the FBI references within the transcript and what was said by that gentleman?
We certainly think it's a gross overstep by Senator Feinstein to release that transcript. There's been a lot of comments about obstruction of justice, and frankly, the only people that we've seen trying to influence the investigation are former Director Comey and Democrats in Congress, and that would include Senator Feinstein, Representative Schiff, who have both selectively leaked to the media witness interviews. We see that to be a big problem and something that should certainly be considered and looked at.
My follow-up question, today Ecuador announced that it's granting nationality to WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Does the president agree or disagree with this decision by the Ecuadorians?
I haven't spoken to him about that. John?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Two brief questions. The president said yesterday that, and I quote, "We are going to take a strong look at the libel laws." Now, many lawyers said that was an unusual statement because all libel laws are at the state level and not the federal level. Was he referring to states should take a look at libel laws or something else?
I think certainly states should take a look at it. Look, the president's frustrated with the misreporting and fake news that regularly takes place. He is tired of the media's obsession over recent fictitious book on the president and his administration, and he thinks that when things like that happen, there should be some action of recourse. He's simply stating that it should be looked into. Blake?
Sarah, on Medicaid and what CMS put out today, critics would say you need to be healthy to get a job in the first place. How are they wrong?
Look, certainly we want the American workforce to be healthy, and we're focused on helping improve healthcare across the board, but we also want people to have jobs. We're working on both of those things simultaneously. I don't see how that conflates with one another.
Taking advantage of the system? Is that what,
I'm sorry?
Do you think people are just flatly taking advantage of the system?
I think there are certainly cases where that happens. We don't think that's the overwhelming majority, but there's certainly that's an issue and something we want to be sure to address. Major.
Two questions. One, Senator Flake has left some on Capitol Hill with the impression that there is a deal on immigration and DACA. Is there one, and does the White House believe it's one it will support?
There has not been a deal reached yet. However, we still think we can get there, and we're very focused on trying to make sure that that happens. The president's been clear about what his priorities are in that process, and we're going to continue working with members of the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, to make sure that we try to get that deal done.
Related to that, is the White House familiar with what the contours of Senator Flake is talking about, and would it regard it as progress?
I can't speak to the specifics of Senator Flake. I can tell you that a deal has not been reached, and we've outlined what a deal would need to look like on our end for it to happen.
Can you explain from the administration's point of view the value of demonstration projects in the 10 states that have asked for it for those who are able-bodied who receive Medicaid, because there are critics who say even as a demonstration project, it would fundamentally change Medicaid's orientation to those who receive it because they qualify, and that's historically been the method. If you qualify, you receive.
Are you referencing the CMS, the new policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're announcing that to support states in efforts to strengthen the Medicaid program and getting Americans engaged in getting back to work. The policy will allow states to design programs that help beneficiaries improve health and well-being. At the same time, the policy protects the most vulnerable, including those determined to be medically frail or suffering from a substance use disorder. That's what the focus of that program is on. Thanks so much, guys.